Hello, everybody. This is Diane,
And this is Marnell.
and we are the Real Housewives of Alaska.
And welcome back to What the Hell Did I Just Watch?
Absolutely 100% true. Oh my God.
This is one that I was going to have us do last time when we did the Hamilton, but um, I think Hamilton was probably the better choice last time because this is a deep topic.
And like I told you earlier, I'm letting you take the lead because I'm so overwhelmed by this topic that I don't know how useful I'm going to be.
So we are here to podcast the documentary that is streaming on Peacock right now called I Am Andrew Tate. So Diane, what color is your Bugatti?
Yeah, right. I'm going to tell you, I didn't even know who this guy was before you mentioned him. I
And what's
didn't.
funny is there are several times in the documentary where he talks about being the most famous man like on the internet ever at this moment, which I mean, he's pretty famous, but yeah, you didn't know who he was.
He
So
was like the most Googled person in 2023.
yeah, over Donald Trump
Yeah, and like over COVID even.
and over Kim Kardashian. And yeah,
Look at what you need to get through our podcast.
I do. It's an Alaskan wine too. It's Bear Creek.
Oh, they have nice wine.
They do.
Yep.
They do. I need to finish the bottle. I opened it like 2 days ago, so it's gonna be vinegar. It's gonna be vinegar if I don't finish it.
I'm not even
Yeah,
sure what to say.
yeah. So do we have any housekeeping? Do we any of
Um,
that?
so I would like to start with a rating, and I'm not sure that my rating so much reflects the quality of the documentary as it does my complete and utter aversion to the topic. I'm going to give it a 4 out of 10 useless influencers.
Fair, fair. This was a very difficult watch. I have this sick interest with kind of podcast bro, like the epidemic of male loneliness, things like 4chan. I'm actually reading a book right now called It Came From Something Awful, which is about how the meme culture brought Donald Trump into the presidency. And it
That
talks about
sounds fascinating, actually.
it is something awful is actually a precursor to 4chan and 8chan. So it's still around, but it was a website where like anything goes. I mean, you can post kitten crushing videos, you can post, the nudes that you AI faked of your ex-girlfriend, and like anything goes. So yeah, I have like this weird sick interest in it, like I do like true crime, just because it's psychologically interesting and I don't understand it, so I kind of have a tendency to do a deep dive. So I'm gonna give it a 7.5 fake universities, just because it super interests me, and I think guys like this are very very dangerous, and
Very.
I think that the one of the only thing that's going to stop them is the harsh light of day. So I think documentaries like this are important.
So I have a question about this documentary, and maybe you know, maybe you don't know. There was a man who had started a documentary with Andrew Tate. Was this taken over in place of that, or
So I think this documentary was started to be something different in
because
Andrew
of
Tate
his
because
legal
of his arrest.
problems?
Yeah, it sort of morphed into something different. But there is another documentary that Matt Shee with Vice Media did.
Okay.
It's about 45 minutes. You can find it on YouTube. And I'll talk a little bit about that one
Okay.
in a minute. I don't think any of these documentaries or documentarians ever go into this like wanting to be like, look at this amazing entrepreneur, Andrew Tate. I think they are also fascinated with this culture that he has created, and the fact that it has made millions upon millions and continues to make millions upon millions of dollars for Andrew Tate and all of the other podcast bros out there, or pickup artists, or any of those kind of guys.
Sorry, I have to have my phone
Okay.
on because I'm on call, so I can't not have my phone going. Sorry. Do me a
Not a
favor
medical
though.
emergency.
Not a medical emergency. Do me a favor and tell Phil I'm wearing my Capes and Lunatics hoodie tonight.
Yay. I am wearing my Mac Vice President.
Oh, I love it. I still haven't gotten my I understand the assignment shirt, and I think I just jumped on the bandwagon and got cheated out of a shirt.
Oh no.
I know, I know. It was not from the official candidate website, so
These are not affiliated. I got mine from Amazon. I kind of think that like maybe at some point they will go away because I'm not sure if they're using the Mattel Barbie logo like with permission. But hey, I got mine.
probably not, but I like it.
It's very
All right. Oh, go ahead.
it's very good like marketing, I think, on both sides. And also like I feel like if I'm ever stopped by somebody who wants to fight about it, I could be like, it's the Barbie movie. And just totally avoid an argument with them.
Very good. I ordered a Coach shirt from the campaign website, so I'll have a Coach. And I guess if they really wanted to be stupid, I could say, I have a Coach purse. I'm just not using it right now.
That's funny.
All right. Well, I Am Andrew Tate has a 5.3 out of 10 on IMDb. And I looked up the person who is the director, a woman named Marguerite Gaudin, if you pronounce it the way that you would if she's French, or Gaudin, if you pronounce it the way that Americans probably would. So I'm not sure how she says it, but it's Gaudin. This is actually her first director credit, but she has several producer credits, including this, The Truth versus Alex Jones, which may be on our list, even though that's probably going to be hard to watch as well.
It's going to be slightly more cringy, I think.
Yeah. She's done some episodes of Frontline. She produced Leaving Neverland about Michael Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
In the Shadow of 9/11. Vijaram Tomic's The Superman of Paris, who apparently was some sort of art thief in Paris.
Oh.
So she has several documentaries to her credit. I'm sure I said that guy's name wrong as well.
I thought, for some, when I was looking up stuff, I thought it was the Spider-Man of Paris.
Yeah, did I say something wrong?
I think you said Superman. So isn't the Spider-Man guy the guy who scales the buildings?
Yeah. And his name is Vijaran Tomics. Vijarantomics.
I mean, you got to give it to the guy where, like, because, like, he does it, like, freehand and, like, no net or anything. And, like, he does it for, like, art or protest or something. And
risk taker guy.
Yeah, I can't imagine. Yeah.
Well, she produced a documentary about him, so here we are.
She seems to gravitate to very controversial figures.
Yes, I would say so. And I am looking forward to watching the Alex Jones one. That man deserves to rot. So
I feel like I watched it, but it was a while enough ago that so much has happened that, yeah.
No, this is really new. It's new out on HBO.
Oh, okay.
So,
Okay. Maybe I watched a Vice documentary about him. I'm sure there's been plenty of
oh,
documentaries.
I'm sure. I'm sure. And this woman actually won an Emmy Award for sound mixing on Leaving Neverland.
Nice.
I did not prep anybody as a featured cast because I kind of feel like Andrew Tate is the featured cast.
He kind of is, but so I just wanted to kind of also spotlight Tristan Tate, who is Andrew Tate's brother, younger brother.
Okay.
Tristan Tate is about 7 years younger, but and he had a little bit more in the Vice documentary, and I've watched a couple of interviews with him, and he actually prefers to be the silent partner in their relationship, their business relationship. He prefers that Andrew is the face of their company, and he is like, because like you for a while, I always kind of got the sense that, like, his brother was just sort of like drug along, or maybe he was a hanger on or something. Nope. He is 100% in this. He is 100% behind what Andrew Tate does.
Oh,
But
it sounds like he's a rapey bastard too. So
yeah. And so he also, his life seems to parallel Andrew Tate's also. So Andrew Tate, so in this documentary, it's a 2-time kickboxing champion. He is actually 4-time. So I don't know if that was just outdated, or if it's a different championship in the ISKA.
Probably a different federation.
Yeah. And so Tristan Tate also has some kickboxing championships under his belt. He was also, big into chess playing. He was also on the reality show Shipwrecked, which was Andrew Tate's first reality show. He did not do Big Brother like his big brother did. And he is Andrew's roommate, business partner, podcast partner, like that. He is all in, but he prefers to kind of keep a lower profile than Andrew. And I, obviously for good reason, in my opinion, but no, he is not. He is 100% behind his brother. So yeah, so not really a featured cast member, but I just want to point out that there is another half to what we are talking about.
So I'm curious, did anything that you have looked at over the years talk about their sister? Because the only thing that I saw was there was the mention of the sister, and then when I was skimming through his IMDb, or his not IMDb, his Wikipedia page today, they said that when his parents split, the mom took the boys, but there's not like any mention of the sister whatsoever.
Nope. They have a younger sister, Janine, and there is no other mention to that. And so I don't know if she has a relationship with her brothers, or, even if her last name is still Tate.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Love it. Oh, go ahead.
I was also curious about his mom, because on the one hand I could see her, and this is complete speculation. On the one hand I can see her not wanting to have any part of this, but then on the other hand, having struggled all of her life and growing up poor and being on federal assistance and things like that, I could totally see her, kind of going along with it, just because, like, there's a lot of money in the podcast and grow business.
Yeah. $5 million a month, according to the latest figures.
Crazy.
Between his podcast empire and
Hustler University.
Yeah, which is now called the War Room.
That is kind of his secret society.
Yeah.
Not so secret, obviously, but
right.
Yeah. Hustler University is for the plebs, and the War Room is for all of the guys who can afford to pay $5,000 to sit in a room with him once a year and fly to Lutin or Bucharest or wherever the Carpathian Mountains, wherever they're having their thing this year. Although it's going to have to be at Andrew's house because he's under house arrest.
He is still under house arrest.
Yep.
Yes.
As of 4 days ago.
Yes. I that was one of the pieces of news that I looked up.
Yep.
So in unrelated news, because I did pick out a little, just a tiny bit of political news. So the Harris Walls campaign raised $361 million last month in August. They outraised Trump by nearly 3.5 times the amount that the Trump campaign raised. The debate is Tuesday night, so please watch, and please make sure you're registered to vote. And vote, vote, vote.
And especially if you are currently living in a state, there are a number of them, but I have seen a number of states that have like this new law in place this year, where if you have somebody's like name, address, and maybe their date of birth, I'm not sure, you can basically report them as like a fraudulent voter or something and have them kicked off the voter registration. So they are saying not only like check now, but check in the days and weeks leading up to
the election.
The deadline for your election, the deadline to register for your state. That's just crazy.
It is crazy. So I'm going to leave my Andrew Tate news until later to comment. So I kind of am ready to get into the goods, bads, and ugly. Well, actually, there's a tiny bit of housekeeping.
Okay.
So I think we should rename the housekeeping corner we should call it the corner of the childless dog ladies.
I would second that with the amendment that we call the child-free dog ladies. Because I am blissfully child-free. That's enough of a child as I want.
Yep. I don't know if I count anymore since I'm a stepmom now, but they don't live with me, so I'm still kind of childless.
Yeah.
Which is fine.
Yep. I think for you and I, it was by design.
Yes. I wanted to talk about a book that I just downloaded to my Audible account, which means I'll probably never get to it. But I found it because of Rick Wilson's wife. She met Frank Figliuzzi. I don't know if you know who that is. Former FBI investigator, and he wrote a book called Long Haul, and it's a book about long haul truckers and serial killers.
Ooh.
And I thought it would be right up your alley, which is why I brought it up. Yes.
So what was that called again?
It's called Long Haul.
Long Haul. I love it.
Frank Figliuzzi, Figgluzi, Frank Figliuzzi. I think I spelled it right. Figgluzi.
Okay.
It's only out in paperback or in hardback right now, so your options are hardback or Kindle or Audible.
Audible.
I figured.
Yeah.
And then the other reason that I pushed Marnell into doing this a little bit early is that I'm going on a big vacation, like the biggest vacation I've ever gone on in my life here in the next couple, like it's like a week away. It's like 10 days away. So I'm going to Belize, which, you know, is not, I'm sure, terribly exciting to many people, but it's very exciting to me. It's my first passport stamp. So
I was going to say, I think it would be exciting to a lot of people, even people who have traveled like overseas and stuff, because, I mean, one, Belize sounds just beautiful. But I mean, the old stereotype that Americans don't travel overseas, you know, the Americans don't travel.
It's the second largest coral reef in the world, or home to the second largest coral reef in the world. And We'll be spending a week in the Keys doing snorkeling and that sort of stuff, and then a week in the area where we can go to Mayan ruins and look at those kinds of things.
Nice.
Yeah, so it'll be very cool.
I'm so excited for you. I'm also very jealous.
Well, you've traveled more than I have, so
Not by much, I don't think. And I think Americans get the reputation that we don't travel. It's because we generally don't leave the United States if we do travel. But as TikTok has been teaching people around the world, the United States is enormous. So, like, Alaskans going to Louisiana is like going to another country. It's a completely different culture. They have their own traditions. Some states like Louisiana even have their own languages. So, like, we travel. Just generally, we don't get a chance to get a stamp on our passport.
this will be the first one. So I'm super excited about that.
Nice.
Yeah. Thank you. Hopefully I make it back.
I mean, I don't know if you'll want to come back, but if you want to come back, I hope you make it.
All right. Any news from you for the housekeeping corner?
Not really. Nope. Fiscal year's finally over.
That's good. So you can get caught up on this year's fiscal year stuff.
Yep. Straight into it.
Well, I guess that takes us to our goods, bads, and uglies. This may be a quick podcast, or we may have lots of notes by the time we get through our goods, bads, and uglies. So I'm going to start. My good, and it was hard to find anything good in anything in this documentary, was the people in Britain who are agitating to reopen charges against the Tates.
Yes.
Especially the gentleman at the end who they showed delivering subpoenas to Andrew Tate. I wish I had taken the time to write his name down because he was really a pretty cool guy.
Yeah. I think that is kind of right along with my good is that, like I said in the beginning, I think the only thing that's going to help root this culture out is the harsh light of day. And, I think the more spotlight we put on it, the more it's going to embolden victims to come out, because there is this very toxic bro culture that I think one of the reasons why it gets such a low rating on IMDb is because Tate has millions upon millions of young male followers who, if they are chronically online, as a lot of us are, but like they are the ones that are going to go and send hate comments, and they're going to dox you, and they're going to, just doing what we're doing now. Like, I'm like, oh God, what are they going to come after us for?
I'm not going to lie. There was part of me that was like, God, I hope we don't end up getting any hate mail out of this.
It is what it is. I mean, so it's funny. Little side tangent. I years and years ago on Twitter, I commented on a thread, and I don't even remember what it was, but do you remember the $64,000 pyramid? Yeah. I put the meme up where it was two women on the $65,000 pyramid, and the question was things an unfuckable douche canoe would say. And so it was, so I put that meme up in response to somebody saying something, and a guy was like, he said something to the effect of calling men ugly. And I was like, where did I call men ugly? And, I was like, you can be the most handsome man in the world and still be an unfuckable douche canoe. I was like, I made no, and I think he had commented that I don't have a profile picture on my Twitter. And I was like, if you look at my Twitter feed, I have posted pictures of myself. So just because I don't have a profile picture doesn't mean I'm ashamed of how I look or whatever. And so it actually opened a dialogue between him and I. And we actually kind of like talked like human beings, like, and not like anonymous people on the internet. So like we actually came to like kind of an understanding. And like, do I think that's going to be as the norm? No, but I think there are people out there. So anyone, we do get hate comments, like, I'm going to treat you like a human being, even if you don't treat me like a human being, because like, I think part of, and we'll get into this, a part of the Tate's problem is that I think there's a lot of really negative psychology in their history. Me, the armchair therapist, like I think there's a lot of pain behind all of this. So, but that does not excuse what they have done and what they are doing and what will probably be continued to be done in their name. So, yeah, I'm glad it's receiving the attention that it so rightly deserves. Because like I said, I think there's a lot of victims out there who have stayed silent because they are scared.
Well, so if you just think about the fact that they were said at one point to have 75 women webcamming for them, how many other women are out there that we don't know about? How many other women are out there that they dated to try to suck them into the webcam life?
Yep.
Yeah, I suspect there are probably a lot more women out there who are victimized by these two men than we know about.
Yes, absolutely.
And what's so shocking, and we'll probably get into this, is the number of really young men who think that this is okay. They're learning from Andrew Tate's podcasts that this is an okay way to relate toward women.
Absolutely. And not just like an okay way, but the only way.
Right.
Like, this is the only way you will be successful in a relationship is to be the alpha, which that's so stupid. It's the alpha thing has been debunked. Like, I don't know how many times it has to be said. The whole alpha wolf thing is not, it's not a thing.
Well, and they use language that I really, really, really hate, and we are seeing this in the presidential election with Kamala Harris being the top of our ticket now. Female. Not woman. Yep. Female.
Yep. And if you go even deeper into like the red pill stuff, they call us feminoids. Yeah.
Great.
Feminoids. Yeah. Yeah. I noticed that they call women girls, females, and of course bitches.
Yeah.
So yeah, very, very, very rarely did I ever hear any of them say women. And what's funny is, while female is like the term is grating, I am actually more annoyed by girls because it just infantilizes women and like, and yeah, like that's what they're looking for. They're looking for impressionable girls, that they can control because they can't handle a woman.
Yeah, they were saying 17 to 19-year-old. Those are the ages that they're shooting for.
Yep. Yep.
Ugh.
I know. I would not want to be a young woman nowadays. No, thank you.
I feel so fortunate that I didn't meet someone like this in my brief foray into dating again after my divorce. Oh my God.
I see. I'm on Narco Talk and not like narcotics. Like, there's one guy that I follow specifically who he calls himself a recovering narcissist. He has been diagnosed with narcissistic personality disorder, and he's very aware of it. And he actually uses his channel to try and educate people on, how to deal with a narcissist in your life and how to avoid becoming a victim of a narcissist and things like that. So like it is a psychological thing that he cannot control, but he is trying to help people avoid being victimized by a narcissist. So
that brings up something that Andrew Tate says early in this documentary about his father being diagnosed with narcissistic personality disorder. Gosh, I'm just not speaking very well tonight. And I'm not the one who's drinking the glass of wine. Uh, and then he says, but I'm not.
No, of course he's not one.
But oh my God, he and his brother both would have to be to do the things that they're doing.
And being on a lot of social media platforms that, being on social media at all, there is a little bit of narcissism that's involved. There's a little bit of narcissism that's involved in what you and I do.
Sure.
So I think that people do have, and the word narcissist is thrown around a lot, but I think there are people who have a lot of narcissistic tendencies that may not necessarily get the diagnosis of narcissist. But if there are two people in the world that we could armchair diagnose narcissists, Andrew Tate is one of them. And I won't say that Tristan Tate is the other one. I will save the speculation on who the other person in media that we all think is a narcissist. Because there are a lot of parallels between Andrew Tate and him.
He wouldn't be orange in color, would he?
He would be.
Although I actually had, I think it was Rick Wilson saying that he was a horrible color of pine tar these days, that he's gone even beyond orange. So... Yeah.
They must have discontinued his bronzer or whatever.
Yeah.
I hate it when makeup companies discontinue my favorite product.
Me too. Something that we have in common with Donald Trump.
I know that he went on a tirade when Aquanet changed its formula to become more environmentally friendly, because I know he was a huge fan of Aquanet. But I mean, if you lived through a certain time period, weren't we all?
Huge.
Huge.
All right. On to our bads.
Pick one.
Right. So I actually wrote, did I miss the trigger warning on this? Before you and I started talking about trigger warnings.
Yeah.
If any documentary needed a trigger warning, this one did.
I do think that there was a slight trigger warning on this, but probably definitely not enough of one.
I think it needed to be a screaming trigger warning.
Yeah, I think it needed to be an audible one, not just like some words on a screen that you read, because most of us are not paying attention to that screen when we're actually watching stuff. So yeah, you're right. I think there probably should have been a better trigger warning.
That was my very small bad, but
that was your very small bad.
Yeah.
My very large bad is that, I believe it or not, I am not opposed to his business model as far as having webcam girls. I think that being
as long as it's consensual.
As long as it is consensual, it is not forced, it is not coerced, that the women are compensated, things like that. You can make a lot of money. And even the one woman said she didn't seem to be able to make as much money without him. And the way that he sort of came into it was, he saw webcam models and they weren't saying the right things. They weren't saying the things to men that men want to hear. And so that's kind of where he took over, is he used their face, but his words to keep the money coming in. And that, I think that's totally fine. Like, that's a perfectly fine business model. Where it falls down is when you start abusing the women, coercion, the keeping the woman hostage, and whether or not she had free reign to come and go from his home. If he is holding her passport and she is in a country where she doesn't speak the language, she doesn't have her passport, she has little to no money or friends or support system. And as we saw, if you go to the police and you say, hey, I'm a webcam model, my boyfriend's beating me and raping me, they're going to be like, well, like, isn't that a little bit your fault then? You know, like, so you are held hostage. Like, if you don't have to be tied up in somebody's basement to be a hostage. So while I I don't disapprove of the whole webcam girl business or anything like that, and I don't even disapprove of the stupid fake university that he's running. Hustle culture, make your money, whatever. It does really, really bother me that he is still living in a lap of luxury, making millions upon millions of dollars a month. And like, it's very, very hard to get justice and prosecute things like this. And it's even harder when the person has means like he does. And so like, I'm not jealous of the money. I'm not opposed to how he's making his money, but it's just, he has done such terrible things, and he seems to be so undeserving of the lifestyle that he leads. That he already sets a bad precedent for young men, and to be successful at being such an awful person, like all of these guys are going to think if they do exactly what he does, they're going to be millionaires. They're going to have these beautiful women. You know, he's got beautiful women. The Vice documentary, actually, the guy was able to, like, he went into Andrew Tate's home, and he has women working for him around his home, and they're, you know, cleaning the kitchen and serving coffee and stuff, and they're in skimpy little outfits, and they're absolutely gorgeous women. And it's such a bad role model that, like, that was my bad, is I'm super disappointed that there's the evil little man doesn't get his comeuppance.
And may not ever.
Yeah. Yep. So that is my bad.
Well, my ugly is kind of related to not having a trigger warning, and it's the beating that they showed. I'm so glad that I was watching this on my phone and not on something bigger like my iPad or, God forbid, my TV.
Yeah.
Because that was really horrible, and I really did not need to see that, and I can't get even that little tiny image out of my head.
Yeah.
So again, a small thing, but definitely a very ugly thing.
Yeah. I feel like I'm so desensitized to a lot of things, and I was actually telling Dianne before we started podcasting. We went and not Dianne and I, the man I'm seeing, and I went and saw a movie last weekend called Blink Twice. It's got Channing Tatum. It's got Christian Slater. The kid from Sixth Sense. He's not a kid anymore. Anyway,
Haley Osment.
Haley Joel Osment, yes. It is an M. Night Shyamalan movie.
Yeah.
It is directed by Zoe Kravitz. So, you know, we went to this movie, and it's not being advertised as really what it is. So it's being advertised as this, you know, this tech billionaire has this private island, and, like, you know, obviously something a little hinky is going on the private island, but like, because it's an M. Night Shyamalan movie, you expect it to be something like, oh, they're doing alien experiments on these people, or, you know, something like that, or like it's a simulation, or you don't expect what happens. And I swear to you, there was not a disclaimer in front of the movie that we watched. I don't know if it's been added since, or if it wasn't on the movie that's in my theater, but we did not see the trigger warning at the beginning, and we were not prepared for what the twist ending was. I can tell you there was no nudity. There was minor violence, but it was so traumatic that, like, we both walked away from that, like, pretty stunned and pretty silent. And like I said, I am a fan of true crime. I read all of the novels, you know, like, and I needed a trigger warning on that movie. And so, like, I feel like I'm kind of desensitized. And so not having a trigger warning on this, and also knowing what Andrew Tate's about and what his charges were and everything, I think maybe I was a little bit more prepared for it than you were. So I kind of didn't have that same experience, but yeah, there probably either should have been a disclaimer right before the beating scene, or it should have been blurred.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that could be a better way of putting that out there. But again, does that sanitize it? You know, like,
I don't know, but I sure didn't need to see it.
yeah, yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
We watch these things for you so you don't have to.
So my ugly is, it's not a good ugly. It's not really a bad ugly. So I actually knew Andrew Tate before he was a podcast bro. I was a huge fan of Big Brother UK.
Oh, I remember this. I mean,
yes.
I remember that you were a fan of him, or a fan of the show. Excuse me.
Fan of the show, yeah. So I actually was watching the season that he got kicked out of, and it, you know, it was one of those things. It happens, like, you know, something happens on the outside that, like, just like this, like, it is one of those things where I feel like they should have done a little better due diligence on vetting him. But on his season, he was meant to be the bad guy. Like, they knew going in that he was, his whole plan, and you can see it in the reality show that he did before, Shipwreck, where his whole plan is to manipulate everybody from day one and getting them all to hate each other. And if they're focusing on, you know, sniping at each other, then they're not focusing on him winning. You know, it's his whole strategy is to manipulate people and turn them against each other. And, you know, step one, manipulate people. Step two, question mark, question mark, question mark. Step three, profit, you know? But so I kind of knew of him before, and he was just a guy. Like, he was the Big Brother in UK has two. They have Big Brother and Celebrity Big Brother. I don't watch any of the other countries' Big Brothers. I don't like them, but for some reason, Big Brother UK just scratches an itch that I didn't know that I had. So, like, it was very fleeting, very passing. He was the Big Brother UK, even if they're not celebrities, the people that come in are still, like, they still are usually, like, have some sort of, like, entrepreneurship going on for them. So I'm sure that he was very deliberately cast, as he is very attractive. You know, he's very fit, got a very masculine look. He's very, very confident. And so I know that, you know, he had done a bunch of boxing championships. He'd already been on a reality show. Like, you know, he had brand aspirations, but everyone else did too. So, like, even though he was cast really as the bad guy, he didn't particularly stick out on the season, other than it was like, whoops, we need to yank him from the show because there's some extra controversy. And now, you know, you come to find out that not only, like, was there controversy, but of course, in true entertainment fashion, took 5 days. You know, like, they kept him in the house 5 days after they found out, you know, that there was this video out there and there were these allegations. They kept him in there for an additional 5 days because he was a great castmate. You know,
yeah.
He was infamous. I don't want to say he was popular. You know, like, he was doing his job. He was creating controversy, which made for good television. And it's what we watch for, but it is also very, very gross that it was just like, well, yeah, I mean, he's terrible, and everything, but he's getting us ratings. So, but I think given the specific allegations and that there has been controversy in the Big Brother house before around assault and, like other things, that I think they were like, okay, so maybe it's a slightly worse liability than we want to deal with. So, maybe we'll yank him out of the house. And it's funny, there's probably a universe somewhere that split off that he didn't leave the house. And maybe now he's not a podcast bro. He's not this Andrew Tate. He's a different Andrew Tate. But I kind of wonder what hand yanking him out of the house.
We lost you. You froze.
Oh, I thought you froze. So I just continued talking.
No, you froze.
Okay. So it makes me wonder, like, how much of the Andrew Tate now stems from being kicked out of the Big Brother house. Like, would things have gone differently had he stayed in the house and either lost or won? Like, I don't think he'd be a better person, but would his career have gone in a different direction?
No, I think he'd still be a narcissistic monster.
Yeah, probably. Just a different flavor of one.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, my ugly was that it's weird enough that, and maybe this is why I kind of have a fascination with him, is like, I knew him when.
Excuse me, God, I'm so tired. I don't know why either.
I got a nap before this, so.
So tell me why we glorify guys like this. That was one of the things that came across my mind as I was like writing notes to myself as I was watching it.
So talking earlier about another very famous narcissist that we all know, it made me think that that other guy is a poor man's idea of a rich man, and he is a weak man's idea of a strong man. And I see that in Andrew Tate. I think he is a weak man's idea of a masculine guy, and he is, an insecure guy's idea of a secure guy. I think that they put on that facade because it's exactly the opposite of what they are feeling. They are very, very insecure, so they are going to project this masculinity and this security. I mean, one of the things that I have written down is performative masculinity. It is very, very performative. I mean, women don't watch his shows. So, like, why is he sitting there all oiled up with his shirt off? Like, that's not for us. That's
right.
That's for guys. Like, that is the, like the male gaze. He is the male gaze. He projects to men what men think that women want. Diane, do you want Andrew Tate?
No, thank you. No, thank you very much.
No. And I think that's like one of the sadder elements to this is like, and he is not the only one. And I don't know if you noticed, he was on Alex Jones's podcast. He was also on another podcast called Fresh and Fit. And the Fresh and Fit Bros are another manosphere podcast, bro, toxic masculinity culture, blah, blah, blah. And they also project this performative masculinity of like, women want abs, they want men who make six figures, they want a tan guy, they want the guy with the muscular jawline, they want, a guy who like is beating his chest and like, I'm so manly. And like, I don't speak for all women, but I think a lot of women really would like men who aren't afraid to show their feelings and aren't afraid to talk to us like we are human beings. It's one of the things that they always talk about, well, women want to be treated like this, women want to be treated like this, or uh, girls want to be treated like this, or females want to be treated like this. And it's like, we want to be treated like human beings, because that's
Yeah.
what we are. Like,
Yeah.
and so I think that's why it is so successful. It's why people are drawn to him. Is it is their view of what they should be to get women, and it is the exact opposite. Sure, you may get some women for a short period of time, but it's not going to create a lasting relationship.
I think the figure that I saw in an article today was something like 3% of women who are aware of who he actually like approve what he's doing. 3%.
Yep. So, like, the part of the thing that I don't understand, like, I understand why men are drawn to him, but I don't understand why men don't understand statistics like that, you know? Like, you have, like, one of the things that I was watching while doing my research, it was like, it was a reel, or it was a YouTube short or something, and it was like a guy out on the street with a microphone interviewing women, and he's like, what do you think of Andrew Tate? And these women, I will not repeat what they said, but they had a lot to say about not liking Andrew Tate. So yeah, I don't understand. I understand why men are drawn to him. I don't understand why they continue to follow him. Like, one of the guys in the documentary said, he's like, he's got like 70,000 subscribers or something, and you can't continue to have those numbers if it's not working. And I'm like, I mean, but you can. How many of us have subscriptions that we have on auto renew that we don't, right. We don't cancel? But I kind of think it's the sunk cost fallacy where, oh, it's only $50 a month. And like, I am getting something out of it. Maybe it's not, I'm going to be a millionaire guy with a bunch of women. Maybe it's the brotherhood. Maybe it's the camaraderie, this gets deep down the rabbit hole. But one of the things that we, especially in America, but around the world, we are starting to lack is third spaces. So third spaces are places that are not your home and they're not your work. They are places where people congregate. And in America, we have a lack of free third spaces. You can go to a coffee shop, you can go to a bar, but you have to pay to maintain that space. You have to continue to buy coffee, you have to continue to buy drinks. In a lot of other countries, it's not that way. You can be in a public space and people watch and meet people and talk to people and have conversations. And so I think that there is this epidemic of loneliness, and not just male loneliness, but I think there's just a human condition of loneliness that we are retreating into behind our screens. And so pay $50 a month to be online with a bunch of guys who think like you and have the same problems as you and aspire to be the same thing as you. Maybe that's what they're getting out of that for $50 a month, and maybe that's why they keep it,
It's as good an answer as any. I mean,
yeah.
Ugh. I struggled so hard with this documentary. Oh my God. Go ahead. You had something to say.
I have a tendency to, like, I overthink about everything. And so, like, because I'm sort of ingrained with a lot of this, I go beyond the surface of it. And like I said, I am reading the book or listening to the book. It comes from something awful. And it talks a lot about, like, the origins of things like this. It talks about the origins of things like 4chan and 8chan and things like that. like I said, something awful was something like 4chan. And of course, from those sites, we get red pill content, which I don't know if you are familiar with the whole red pilling movement. But we get that. We get the post-truth world, meaning like you can make a meme about it, and people take it at face value, and all of a sudden the truth is no longer the truth. It and so like people like Andrew Tate, Alex Jones, Tim Pool, all of these guys, men with microphones, have come from these 4chan and 8chan, and people feeling secure behind a microphone and a screen, and being able to say these things. It's very emboldening, and of course now we find out that Russian operatives were actually paying a lot of these people to say the things that they were saying.
Yeah.
Specifically Tim Pool and Dave Rubin. I forget the other one. Got paid large sums of money, some more than
I want to say Tucker Carlson.
Tucker Carlson, that was the other
one.
Yeah.
Who also platformed Andrew Tate, by the way.
Yes. A lot of them have. Piers Morgan, he was featured in the documentary. Alex Jones and Andrew Tate are pretty buddy because they both got deplatformed by a lot of the larger social media sites. YouTube won't carry their content anymore. Twitter didn't. X does. X gave them their platforms back.
Yes.
But I mean, it's very, very hard to deplatform somebody from the internet entirely, because even the right-wing site Stormfront, even though it got banned from a lot of servers, like they couldn't even get websites. You go to a country like Russia and you get a domain from them and you're back on the internet. And the scary and sad thing is they cited the numbers of the month that Andrew Tate was deplatformed from social media sites. He made $11 million that month.
Jeez.
That's sad and scary. But again, I always have to kind of look at the armchair psychology of it all. And he talks so much about his dad, and he will forever be trying to win the approval of his father, who is now passed away. So he will never receive that approval. And, he even talked about how his father treated his mother. And you and I do not have children, but I will caution women out there that you are teaching your sons how to treat women. So be very, very careful. If you are staying in a relationship because you're staying together for the kids, you're teaching your children, you're teaching your sons how to treat women, and you're teaching your daughters how men should treat them.
Yeah.
And again, it parallels another rich, famous narcissist that we know, in that they are always chasing their father's approval. And I think it's the psychology behind a lot of their actions. So, and it's sad to me.
And the little bit of lip service that he gives to his mom is disrespectful. He talks about her being on the dole. He talks about her moving he and his brother to Britain, and as a result, it totally trashed the trajectory of his life, and he lost his chess coach. That was what he said about his mom.
Yep. And even when he talked about the things that his father did, that you and I could see as terrible, that he left his mother to travel around the world and do these tournaments, and he drank and he hung out with friends, and he never took any lip from his mom, and he
And
fucked
screwed whoever he
around.
wanted. Yep.
Yep, yep. Like he idolized that. He held that up to esteem, and his mother staying home raising 3 children by herself, that was not seen as at all admirable, and I've seen a lot of men in the red pilled community talk about that, how they resent being raised by single mothers, and they blame it on the mothers. They don't blame it on the fathers that left them.
How ironic is that?
Right?
Wow.
Oh God, what was it? It was a TikTok that I just watched. I thought you and Rob maybe sent it to me, but no, I but it was like a compass. The finger of an accusatory male will always point to a woman. Always. Like, no matter what we do, it's our fault. And it was in relation to because of the 4B movement in Korea, South Korea, men are committing suicide at a higher rate because they're lonelier. And basically it's like, it's the women doing this. The men are committing suicide because of what the women are doing. No accountability for why women are pulling away from men. Just that, like, you shouldn't be doing this, and so they're committing suicide. Like, he will literally do anything but get therapy. It's crazy.
So I had a comment, and I don't know if you know this or not, but did you know that the highest indicator of lethality in domestic violence is strangulation?
Yep.
So how on earth have we not managed to see a death related to one of the Tate brothers yet?
Yet. That's the operative word. Yet.
Just gives me chills.
The statistic that I came up with is throttling or strangulation is 45% more likely to lead to the death of an intimate partner when it's part of a domestic violence incident. God, I had some also that there's not strangulation is not always medically evident, even in victims who have died of it. So it's just another thing of, why did these women go to the police? Even if they how many times do women go to the police and they're not believed? And 10-1, if they had gone to the police and didn't have physical marks on their body, that would have just been something in the favor of you don't have any marks, so how do we believe you?
Yeah.
Let's see. Data on strangulation reveals a glaring picture of the severity of the type of assault. 1 in 4 women will experience intimate partner violence in their lifetime, and of those, up to 68% will suffer a near fatal strangulation at the hands of their partner. Of the victims, 97% are strangled by hands, 38% reported losing consciousness, 35% are strangled during a sexual assault/abuse, 9% are pregnant.
Wow.
And 70% of strangled women believe they were going to die.
Wow.
Yeah. It is the number one indicator that the continued relationship will result in the death of a partner. Because it is so easy there's such a fine line between strangulation to unconsciousness and strangulation to death. And death from strangulation is not always immediate. It can occur days to weeks after the strangulation because of the damage that you can do to the trachea or the carotid artery. It's scary.
Yeah, super scary.
Yeah. And as the other thing was when he's continually asked if he has ever raped anybody. And he always says, I don't need to rape anybody. And that is the fallacy of that if you are able to have sex whenever and wherever with whoever you want to. Why would I need to rape anybody? And it comes from the belief that rape is about sex. It's about power. And he is a man that craves power.
Yes.
And so most of these women were in an intimate relationship with him already. Yes, you didn't need to rape them, but you did. Because it's about violence and it's about power.
Yep.
Yeah. Super duper scary. A lot of things that I saw in the past couple of years on him were those videos of teachers saying, I have no idea what to do with the boys in my class because they are acting out in a way that, Andrew Tate tells them to. They follow him. They like him. They treat women like he treats women, and I fear for the girls of this generation. And so I actually saw a lot of the videos that they featured on the documentary. They did interview a bunch of guys on the documentary. And did you notice one theme that ran through all of the men that they featured?
Well, they were all not particularly successful, and they were all particularly alone.
And it's just a joke. He's just being funny.
Oh, yeah.
Satire. It's a joke.
Oh, God, that killed me.
Then you don't understand humor. It's just a joke. It's a joke.
Yeah.
It's meant to be funny.
Yeah.
Okay. Explain the joke to me.
They were specifically talking about him threatening someone with a machete, then slapping that person, and then strangling that person. They were specifically talking about that as being a joke.
Yeah.
And the person who was being threatened, slapped, and then strangled was a woman. Yep.
And he specifically said that, women think that they know self-defense. I'll just do this if you're being strangled. And he's like, but if I cave in your face and then I strangle you. So explain the humor to me.
Yeah.
Explain it to me like I'm an idiot. What's jokes are supposed to be funny. What is funny about that? Yeah, that's what always gets me. You see it all the time is when something is not particularly received well. It's just a joke. You just don't get the joke.
We also see that in the Class A narcissist we have said we won't name.
Yep.
That I then named.
Yeah, it's just a joke. It's funny. I don't know if you saw the comedian Matt Rife came to Anchorage. And so Matt Rife blew up on TikTok. And he is super duper funny with his crowd work. He blew up. He's a pretty attractive guy. He works the crowd very well, especially women in the crowd. And he went on a podcast and said some very gross things. And he totally basically cut women down because women were what put him on the map as far as what he does with his crowd work. And then the response he got on TikTok about it, everyone loved it, especially women. Well, he wanted to be one of the bros. And so he completely flipped on women and, like I said a bunch of gross things and kind of got canceled. I don't see much of I didn't do any blocking or anything, but I don't see much of his TikTok stuff anymore. But it's just a joke, and he started out his Netflix comedy with a joke about domestic violence, but it's just a joke.
Great. Well, someone who thinks that's funny has never had it directed at him or her.
Right. Yeah, that really got under my skin. And it wasn't even Andrew Tate saying it's just a joke. It was
all
men
of
who defend him.
His fanboys. Yeah.
Yep. So do you understand the business model for Hustler University?
You go ahead and explain it to me because I suspect I'm going to say no.
So it's called affiliate marketing. And they talked a little bit about, even though Andrew Tate has been banned on a bunch of social media platforms, that his content is still out there because people cut up clips of him and put it out there. So there are entire accounts dedicated to just showing clips of Andrew Tate's podcast or interviews or things like that. And if you click on the profiles for those, it will usually take you to an affiliate link. And you click on the link and it takes you to Hustler University. $50 a month. You're enrolled in Hustler University. You learn how to make money like Andrew Tate makes money.
And how to relate to females.
Right. So say I have an account. I put my affiliate marketing link in my bio. You click on it. You pay the $50 a month to enroll. You get an affiliate link to put in your bio, and and so on and so forth. I get 48% of your $50 a month for nothing, for putting a link in my bio. And everyone who signs up through my link, I get 48% of their $50 a month. And then when you put your link out there, you get 48% of the money brought in through your link. And so it just self-perpetuates. Of course, that's fat. I would pay $50 a month for 200 people to click my link, even if it's not in the first month. If I'm paying $50 a month and over the course of the year, 50 to 200 people enroll through my link, I am getting $25 a month from all of these people.
Right,
for doing
per
nothing.
person.
Yeah, I'm not having to do anything but put a link in my bio. And it just replicates itself. That's affiliate marketing. And so that is why his content spreads so far and so fast and so wide, is because you just put his stuff out there, put your affiliate link in the bio, and you could have 4, 5, 6, 10 TikTok accounts, Twitter accounts, Facebook profiles. You could have a bunch of these where, somebody signs up through your link and boom, you get $20 a month, $25 a month, whatever. That is the business model. It's pure genius. It's not anything that nobody else has thought of. That's why there's a whole name for it. It's called affiliate marketing. So that's the secret to the success, other than the webcam models. But I mean, even the webcam models, you got to have people around, you got to pay employees, you got to, there's all kinds of crap that comes along with having, a business like that. Affiliate marketing is just a link. Everybody else is doing the work. I'm the one who's cutting up clips of you and putting it on my TikTok, and bringing in 52% of your income every single month. It's diabolical. I hate it, but it's genius. I'm not gonna lie, it's genius. So the War Room, the Vice documentary that I watched goes a little bit more into the War Room, and it's basically called A Secret Society, and there is a sort of secret third partner to the Tate brothers, and his name is Iggy, and I want to say Samwise.
I saw the name. I saw it listed somewhere. He's got another name that he goes by.
Yeah, he builds himself as the greatest hypnotist in the world. And to hear some of the stuff that he says is it's so, I want to say Nazi eugenics type stuff.
Ew.
But one of the things that they talked about was, and it caught my ear because of the way that it was initially said. It was your sons will marry your daughters, or your daughters will and I was like, wait, brothers and sisters are going to marry each other in this little cult? And no, what it was meant was the members of the war room will go on to be these successful men, and they will be fruitful and multiply, and they will have sons and daughters, but their sons and daughters will only marry and mate with the sons and daughters of the other war room men. So
The Fourth Reich.
exactly. That's why I was like, it's like Nazi eugenics. Yeah, yeah. It's basically like they're going to do this little cult to breed their own little master race of like yeah.
Can we just point out the irony, and I'm not trying to sound like a racist asshole here, that Andrew Tate is half black? Can we just point out the irony of that?
Well, I mean, look at Hitler. He thought the master race was blonde haired and blue eyed. Exactly what he was not. Like, I mean, the self loathing. Freud would have a field day. So Andrew Tate has since moved to Dubai and converted to Islam, and he has opened his own bank.
Oh
Like,
my God.
yeah, he has enough money that in Dubai, he now he runs a bank.
So how does that work since he's under house arrest in Romania?
So in the Vice documentary, like I said, you get to go inside of his home, and there are dozens of staff, and at least half of them are security. And there are young men that come to his home and just to take selfies to say, hey, I was in front of Andrew Tate's home, or, you know, like he is so worshipped that like there are plenty of men who will come work for him. There's plenty of women that will come work for him. His assistant is a very beautiful woman. So there are plenty of people
that actually is being accused of tax evasion in Britain as of the last 3 days. So she and both of the Tate brothers. Woo!
And man, if there's one place you do not want to do tax evasion, like here, it's sport. Here in America, it's practically sport. Like, you know, there's entire law firms dedicated to helping you evade your taxes. In Britain, they take that stuff very seriously because their taxes go to a lot more cool stuff than here. Yeah. His own bank.
Wow.
Yep.
Well, if he's making $5 million a month, that makes sense.
And that's just from probably his legal businesses that he's willing to talk about on camera.
It will never. Oh, go ahead.
I don't know if you recall at the beginning of this documentary and in the middle of the Vice documentary, he talks about not showing screens,
yes.
his screens on camera. Very, very concerned about his screens shown on camera. In the Vice documentary, he turns around to one of his employees and he's like, your screen is on camera, so keep it very vanilla. And I don't think that they were talking about like pornography or anything. So, yeah, I think there's probably a lot of things that make him money that he is not willing to show or talk about.
He'll be another one who doesn't get punished.
Probably. But
go ahead.
If past this prologue and the Matrix really does have him, the next step is, you know, offing him.
Go kill him. Right.
Yep. That's what he says.
I know.
And that was one of the things that I absolutely loved is like him predicting his own demise. It was like, oh, well, first they deplatform you. He gets deplatformed, obviously. Next, they're going to find something to arrest me for. People who think that out loud are usually people who have a reason to be arrested.
Yeah.
So yeah, he and he is in the Vice documentary. He made it very, very clear that he will never commit suicide. So I think he thinks he's going to get Epstein.
There would not be a loss.
You know, it's too good. Like I think that people like this, that's too easy an out. I don't root for people's demise very often, but when their gains are so ill-gotten, because he's not only doing damage to the women around him that he is personally victimized, he is doing lasting damage to the psyche of young men everywhere who will go on to victimize mostly women, but maybe there will be men in their lives that they victimize too. You know, because I believe that he was a victim of his father.
Interesting. You think that he was physically, well, we know he was physically abused. Do you think he was sexually, do you think he was sexually abused?
No. I think that he was so psychologically marred by his father. Because, I mean, he talks about his father in a very hero worship way.
Right.
But for normal people to hear him talk about his father, that his father had him play chess 3 to 4 hours a day when he's like 5 and 6 years old. He talked about how his dad would punish him by slapping him.
Right.
He said that it only happened 2 or 3 times, but I mean, coming from a violent family situation when I was younger, I couldn't tell you how many times there was violence. Like, I remember a few specific times, but like, 1, I was too young, and 2, trauma has a tendency of like finding its way into a dark corner of your brain that you don't go to. So the way he talks about his dad, like there was a lot of psychological torture, I think, in his younger years that he if he even knows about it consciously, he will never own up to it. Like I said, they will do anything except go to therapy. So, yeah, so not only do we have the women he's individually specifically victimized, but we have an entire generation of men and an entire generation of influencers that will emulate him. Like I said, they're out there. There's the Fresh and Fit podcast. Those guys are basically Andrew Tate light. Yeah. So, yeah, sorry to have such a bummer topic, but
yeah, it was. I had no idea.
It's an important one, though. I think, you know. Like I said, I just really hope that documentaries like this and the Vice documentary sort of put a spotlight on these things, so that like more people will come forward, and so that maybe it'll put things in a different light for people who do follow him, and be like, you know, maybe it'll be a turning point for them.
Here's hoping. The article that I talked about from the BBC said that 3 women have come forward, but I'm not convinced it's not the 3 women that we already know about from this documentary. So, two women anyway.
You know, I mean, if it's like the other narcissists that we have talked about, those 3 women could open a floodgate. I think a lot of women may just be biding their time and seeing what the result of this is. And I also think they're probably still very, very scared of the backlash, because a lot of those women did not want their face shown. They didn't want their names used because of the just army of young men online that will come after them.
Yeah. There's a good piece of news. Romania did say that they will extradite him from Romania to Britain when they're done with their legal proceedings.
Good.
Yeah.
Um, Not on anything that we have watched. I do remember one of the investigators in Romania talking about how they were very annoyed at him for basically saying that, like, he has the police and the Romanian police in his pocket, and like he can, like, they're so corrupt and he can do whatever he wants in Romania and nobody bothers him and stuff like that. And the Romanian investigators, like, that is not at all what Romania is about, and we will not tolerate that kind of thing here. So I was like, way to shoot yourself in your foot, dude.
Well, that's about all that I've got. I know I haven't contributed very much tonight. Like I told you when I called you earlier today, I was just so overwhelmed by it that
Yeah.
I didn't have a lot to say other than, oh my God, what did I just watch?
Again, welcome back to what the fuck did I just watch?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Well, okay, so I have picked Hamilton and I have picked this. It is your pick next. So
Okay, I will work on
like,
I'll work on it while I'm on vacation.
oh yeah. Think of this while you're on vacation.
Well,
all right.
anything else?
About the 90-minute mark, so
Yeah.
no, I think I have said all I needed to say.
Well, you girls watch out for the weirdos.
You watch out for those weirdos.
We are the weirdos, mister.
Oh, check your voter registration.
Yep, check your voter registration, buy some Capes and Lunatics merch. Yay!
Hey, that looks so comfy.
It's nice and warm tonight.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
All
Talk to you
right.
later.
Have a good night. Bye.